Right now, let me introduce you to Claire Pissell. She's a former Conservative government advisor and joins us for the whole show. Very good morning once again to you. You were in the studio as we were listening there to the Israeli ambassador to the UK, a regular visitor to this studio. And I have to say, it's one of those things, you know me, I'm always up for a row with someone I disagree with, but I'm not going to fake it if I don't. I am immensely grateful to the Israeli government for taking on Hamas, taking on Hezbollah, taking on the Iranians, particularly over the nuclear threat. It seems to me to be very, very clear this is a preemptive defensive war against a vile, horrible government full of Islamist lunatics in Tehran, where they've been very, very clear and have expressly stated that it is their intention to wipe out Israel from the map, or every Jew, and indeed America and Britain, and yes, probably the rest of Western civilization as well. They've been very clear about it. They clearly are developing a nuclear weapon. The International Atomic Agency has made it clear that they are enriching uranium to a level where far beyond what they need for nuclear power, which they are allowed to do, although why an oil-rich state feels the need to have nuclear power, who knows? I'm sure they're very concerned about climate change. Very big issue in Iran, I'm sure. But, I mean, it seems to me this is an absolute no-brainer. I think the entire world's leaders should be saying, thank you, Benjamin Netanyahu, for doing the deed that we're too afraid to do. Talky talk ain't going to work. You need to actually walk the walk. First question, though. Should America get involved? Should Britain get involved?
It's really interesting that the ambassador was so incredibly diplomatic by saying this is a matter for the United States President, or that, you know, the UK Prime Minister has been very helpful and kind, without giving the opinion that we need to step up. I think we do need to step up, absolutely. I'm not going to speak for America because they have their own set of issues. They have their own president who can make those decisions. But yes, we need to step up. We need to be supportive, because if Iran gets out of control, builds those weapons, we are all in danger.
I don't know why people think that's an issue.
No.
What do you make of Keir Starmer and David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, and what they've had to say so far? Because joining in these sort of, you know, EU calls for de-escalation and calm and tensions in the region, there is this idea, I think particularly in the Labour Party, of this idea that you can talk through and negotiate anything. I think that's, you know, that's, I mean, Trump weirdly gets it on Israel, doesn't get it on Ukraine. You can just talk it through with Vladimir Putin. You know, some things you can't talk through. I'm not a believer that you negotiate with bullies. I think you just take bullies out and you just punch them in the face and deal with it that way.
Does anybody think that the Ayatollah is going to sit round a conference table over a cup of coffee and come up with some suggestions?
I did think you were all the Satan, and I did think that Jews were subhuman and had no right to exist on the planet, and that Israel had no right to exist, and that the US and Britain are the work of the devil. I did think that, but now I've sat round the table with David Lammy. Well, now I get it, and I'm happy for you all to carry on as you were, and I'm no longer a threat. I mean, are these people crazy?
Well, yes, they are. But also, I think probably a week ago, I would have said, let's urge a little bit of caution. Now we can see that this is ramping up. So we urged caution to begin with. Everybody settle down. The Iranians decided to pile over a whole load of missiles into Israel.
Now we are where we are.
And now we are where we are. So you have to change your tactic. And David Lammy going and sitting around a negotiating table, fills me with horror because it's David Lammy and I don't think he's very good at it. But also, if we're not going to back it up by saying, if you don't behave yourselves, we're going to pile in behind Israel. But if we don't actually carry that through, then we will never ever have a presence.
But also,
there
I mean,
again.
Donald Trump was very clear, and I do think, I mean, you know, Biden and Obama were actually useless on this issue in the Middle East. But Trump was very, very clear. You know, you've got 60 days, and on the 61st day, when he pretends he doesn't know, who knows whether he knew or he didn't know. But you've had 60 days. You're not going to come to a deal in the 60 days. Well, tough. Oh, you know, you can't carry on enriching uranium and being a threat. The moment they have the bomb, and it is a very, very good point. Lots of people have made that North Korea developed a bomb and a nuclear bomb. We're pretty sure they've got a nuclear weapon, and now you can't take on North Korea because they've got a nuclear weapon and they're run by a madman. As a general rule, let's avoid mad people getting it's bad enough that anyone's got the nuclear bomb, but let's avoid the more mad people getting it. It seems to me to be a very good thing. I would absolutely support the Americans getting involved, and indeed us getting involved. Everyone's got to shy away from this idea that, oh, don't get involved because we'll be a target. They're already made, they've made us a target. They've told us. This is the thing, you know, it's like when, same with Hamas, same with Hezbollah, same with you know, the Iranian, you know, backers of those organisations, and, you know, the Islamists, you know, the Al-Qaedas, the ISIS, all of them. When they tell you who they are, when they tell you what they believe, when they tell you what they want and plan to do, believe them.
Yes.
Because they're telling us the truth. They actually do want us all dead.
Yeah.
So believe that and then act accordingly. And playing nicey nice isn't going to stop it from happening. Destroying them is.
Yeah. That's the language that they understand. But if anybody thinks that we don't have a target on us and that we're not high up on the list, needs to really think again. Because we always are. We always have been. Our security threat levels are high for a reason.
Well, the success of Western civilization and liberal democratic values is a threat to theocratic lunatics. We have to be gone.
Yep.
Anyway, there at the end of the lesson.